Hello there everyone, and you're welcome. In this quick tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create these eyes, these manga style eyes using Affinity Designer. So we're going to be doing a few things here. I'll also show you how you can create parts. So for instance, I have this lashes, I also have this eyeball shape, and I also have this gradient right here. So you can see how you can quickly assemble these parts and then use them to create the eye. We'll be looking over that as well. So I'll show you how you can create that. So without further ado, let's begin. So the first thing I want to do is to go to View and head over to Studio and then go to Reset Studio, just so you can have the entire interface looking like this. You might not actually have this. It's called the assets. And if you actually go to View and still go to Studio, you can find those assets. So in case it's not there, maybe it's unchecked. So you just need to go to View, Assets, and go to Studio and then check assets. In case you also don't find any of these tools, you can use that shortcut as well. For this toolbar, if you actually go to View and say Show Toolbar, it'll actually get rid of that toolbar. So let's say Show Toolbar, and you can also go to View and say Show Tools. So in case you don't have your tools, it's just in the view here. You can just go here and click Show Tools and your tools will be back. And in case you don't find any of your interface icons, if you press the Tab key, you'll be working in Zen mode. So I like to call this the Zen mode, where you can actually focus on what you're doing rather than your UI be cluttered with a lot of things. So that's the cool thing about the Zen mode. I have a Wacom stylus, but I'll be using the mouse so you can easily follow along and learn the techniques as well. So the first thing I'll do is go to File and say New. We're going to start with let's use an A4 document, and I like to start with a okay, let's leave it at a white background. I'll just leave it there and just click Create. So oops, so let me just redo that and just do that again and close this one. Would you like to save any changes? No. So let's go to File, New, and what I wanted to do was to set this on landscape mode. So you can just click the orientation for landscape, so you can have the paper horizontal. It's just a personal preference. You can leave this at that. So let's click on Create, and now we have our horizontal view. So what we're going to do first to design the eye is to actually create the upper eyelid. So to do that, let me just go ahead and collapse this. I'll just do this to collapse this manga set, and we can create a new category. And let's just say so it has created one called Assets. What I want to do is to rename this category, so I'll just say Rename Category, and I'll just call that Manga Tut Eye. So that's the Manga Eye tutorial. And also the assets, we can rename the assets, and let's just call that Manga Eye Parts Tut. That's the Manga Eye Parts tutorial for this. And basically we can just start. So the first thing I'll do is to click on the circle shape right here, and I'll set my fill to black, so these fill and width don't matter, and I'll just hold down Shift and just drag this right here, and I'll just hold Control and just click on that using V. So I'll press V to switch over to this tool here, hold Control so I can click and drag, and what I want to do is to just create a shape like so. Right, so what we need to do as well is just stretch this out a bit, and on this one we can also stretch that out so we can have a nice shape for our brow. I think I like this, so what I'll do is to select these two. I just click on the shape here, ellipse, hold down Shift and click on this one, and once we have that, let's hover up and click on Subtract, and you can actually see we have this nice base shape. With this shape selected, if you want to bring it over here, we'll just right click. I'll click over here and say Add from Selection, and we'll actually have this shape right here. So this is a nice brow shape. So what can I do to modify this? Well, I could just stretch this out a bit. I'll just drag this down. But a nice tool we can use is this tool right here, which is the Node tool. With the Node tool, we can select a specific point and just kind of push or pull that point. We can see right here. So I'll just zoom in, and just right here on this point, I'll just drag this to make this a bit, kind of like this shape here. And I think this is quite nice. So the next thing I want to do is to create the lower eyelid. So I'll just drag in this shape we've created right here. And what I can do is just rotate this, hold down shift, drag it down like so, and just pull this down and just pull this up right here. I don't think this will actually fit that purpose. So what I'll actually do is to just use the pen tool. So I'll just press P for the pen tool and just go over here and just create a very simple shape. Just one shape, and I'll just pull this like so. And I think that's it. That's just my shape. So what I'll do is to zoom in the shape, hold down Control, and I'll just, while using the A tool, you can just click on this. Let's get rid of the stroke. So we don't have a stroke. All we have is a fill for the shape. And I'll head over here with the node tool and select this edge and just kind of like pull this till we get this shape right here. So again, it's all trial and error. This is not actually working. So let's see what I can do here. I think I can do better than that. So let's just select this and try doing that again. So I have the shape selected. Switch over to my node tool. So it's the fill. I actually need to get rid of fill and leave the stroke. Yeah, that's why it was looking super weird. So it's actually the stroke I want. I don't need the fill over here. So yeah, that was why. Apologies for that. So I'll click on this and just drag this width till it becomes like so. And what I'll do here on the pressure is to click on the center and then add a nice, I'll just pull this down so we can see what's happening right here. So we actually have this nice curvature, which I kind of like, and I'll leave it at that. So to create these lashes over here, let's switch over to the pen tool, and I'll just create some nice basic triangle like so. Now you can actually see it's using the last shape properties. I don't want that, so I'll just go over here and just drag this and drag this up so we don't actually get these this property right here. So I'll just undo this and I'll set this to a low value, so let's say 0.7, and I'll just click on 0.1, 2, 3 so I could get some nice lashes. That's 1. So let's do another one, 1, 2, 3 like so. Hold on Control and click, and let's do 1, 2, 3 like so and click. So I'll just zoom in here because we're working with what do you call that, Bezier curves. So we're working with Bezier curves, and these curves are not going to kind of like be squished when we create them. So I'll click on this shape, and what I like to do is just pull this edge and just pull this edge like so. Alright, so we actually have that shape going in this curve. So I'll do the same for this one. Just pull this edge and pull this edge as well, and make this kind of like smaller, so it seems as if it's getting smaller as it's going. Now obviously you can do better than me. You can add more details to this guy, and I'll switch over to the fill and just fill this up with a black shape like so, and we'll just add a fill. So now that we've had this, if we want to have these three together, we can select them, select this one, hold on shift, click, and we can go out here and say add from selection. So you can actually see we have each of these, kind of like separate. So let's see what happens when we group them. So let's do Control G. So let's just say lashes. So I have the lashes group right now. So if I click here, I'm selecting all three. So let's go here and say add from selection. Now we have a group of lashes we can bring in here, and I'll click on the flip horizontal. So I'll just drag this over here and just drop this right here. Now if we want this to be slightly different, what we can do is to add, say, one more. So let's click this and drag it. So it's actually a good thing we put them separately, and I'll just drop this one right here and scale this down real small, like so, and just add it here so we can have a few variations. So this is a group, no problem. We already have that group here. We can open it and select each individual one, and we can just drop this here. And I want to make this kind of like so. And I'll just add a little bit of rotation to this guy by selecting the vector transform tool and just rotating this guy. And this is the odd one out actually. So we'll just leave it at there. This is too odd, but I like it. I'll just leave it there. So what I can also do is to go to this bottom lid. I'll just drag this, rotate this, and let's just zoom in. And we just place this right here. You see we might need to adjust this, but no problem. Just drop this and kind of like place it here. So for this group, what I want to do is to select this one, or we can use our node selection tool and select this one and zoom in. To zoom in, what I'm actually doing is using the scroll wheel, holding control. So if I hold control and use the scroll wheel, I can actually zoom in and out. That's how I'm actually able to zoom in. So again, this is just personal preference. If you want, you can select each one. So it's in the group now. So I'll switch over to node selection tool. I'll just select it from here. I'll switch over to the transform. I'll just rotate this a little bit and just drop this right here. Alright, so that seems to be a bit off. So I'll just rotate that back right here. And I'll just select these. Okay, I have that already. So I'll just click on this and do a Ctrl J to duplicate that, and I'll flip horizontally and I'll just drag this over here. I'm holding spacebar and I'll just come over here and drop this here as well. I might need to adjust this so we can actually see what we're doing. So I'll just pull this here, select this one, pull it here, select this one, and just rotate it a little bit so it can stay over here. Again, it's just preference. We can select each one we want. So again, we can select this entire group here at the bottom, and we'll just say Ctrl G to group that, and just say let's say lower lid, and I press the return key, and once I have that selected, I'll just go over here and say add from selection. Now we can see we have that lower lid, and we can always bring that lower lid in like so if we want. Right, good. So I'll just delete that because we don't need that. So next thing I want to do is to create the pupil shape, and to do that I'll bring in my trusty circle, and this time around we don't need a fill, so I'll get rid of the fill. I just need the stroke, and I want the stroke to be quite similar to that last stroke. Now what we can do here is to save that profile. Remember, we created a profile and just dragged it here. We can save this profile, right? So we actually have this profile right now. So what I'll do is to go over here and just drag my shape here like so, and make sure it's kind of like touching. I'll just use the shortcut tool V to drag this, and I want this to kind of like touch. Yeah, just about that. I think that's super awesome. So this is 0.7, so I'll just drag this up a little bit, and you can actually see what it's doing there. We're actually getting this sharp tip here. I would like to also rotate this. Now while I'm doing this rotation, if you notice the bottom left of the screen, we can actually see this value here. I'll set this to -180 degrees. This will flip this shape. So now we actually have this nice shape over here. That's awesome. So what do we do next? Let's create another shape, a circular shape, and then add a nice transparency around this guy. So if you also want to save this, like I said, again, we could just go here and say add from selection. So we actually have that pupil shape over here. So let's drag in our circle again, holding down Shift and Alt. We can create a circle. So let's just click that and just drag this. So I don't want that fill. Okay, I actually need the fill. So I'll just set this to black, and I'll leave the stroke, or let's get rid of the stroke, it doesn't matter. So what I'll do next is to I'll call this pupil. For easy layer finding, I can just find things, and I'll click the transparency tool. So what I'll do is to just click and drag this down here. Alright, so on our pupil, it means we have this nice gradation from white to black. So this would actually help us make this much more, make this eye quite interesting. So what I'll do next is to add the black dot right here. So I'll just add this shape right here, and let's just click that and drag this like so, and I'll just place this over here at the center. Now it depends on where I want to place this. If I put this underneath, it's going to be under, right? Or I can put this above and then set this to, let's say, multiply, or we'll just leave this at a normal setting. Either way, we just have this nice shape, and each time you click on the transparency tool, we already have that here, and yeah, this is what I want. So I want some of that black to be kind of like affected by this guy right here. So let's create our highlights. Our highlights is going to be straightforward. It's just a nice shape. So I'll set the fill to white, get rid of the stroke, and I'll just click one and draw this highlight. Make sure it's kind of like oval, like so, at an angle, just add some swaggy effect. Yes, I used swag, so I'll just click on that and say Control J and just drag this right here, and I'll hold down Shift, and I'll make this quite small for the highlight, a little bit smaller, and I'll just place one right here. And you can actually go crazy with this shape. You can add any kind of highlight you want. So what I want to do next is just add another kind of like ellipse shape here. I don't know, let's just try that and see. So I select the circle tool again, and I'll just drag this and press V and drop this over here till it laps a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is to convert this to curves, because I want to use the node tool to click on this and just push this up a bit, like so, like that. Just drag this over here, and what I want to do is to click on the transparency tool, like so. Now what I'm going to do here, I can even rotate this. We can click here to rotate it, right? Or we can click here to put it at any angle we want. But I'll just tone down the opacity way super low. If I click on this, so you can actually see, let's move it away. So I can click this to move it away, and we can actually see what it's doing here. Alright, so we can use this to add a little effect to the eye. Like we have this reflection down here. We just place this over here to see that little bit of effect. It's subtle, but we can actually see what it's doing. Right, so we'll call this our subtle effect. Alright, that's super nice. So if we turn this up, we can actually see what it's doing. So we have this like glassy reflection on the eye. It's super cool, it's super awesome. What it's also doing, it's making this eye look black. It's fading this out, so I'll just put this underneath so we can actually see that without this, with this, and you can even rotate it, and you know what, it's yours. You can play with this and do whatever you want. I actually like this subtle effect, so I'll go over here and say add from selection, so I have that subtle and soft effect right there. So what we're going to do next is to create some nice kind of like lines around here. So what I'll do is to jump over to the pen tool. So I'll just press P, a shortcut for the pen tool. I'll just click here and then click over here. Now I'm going to set the color of the stroke to black, and I'm going to reduce this to about, say, just like that. Yeah, just 1 point. I think 1 point is awesome. So what I'm going to do next is to begin to rotate this guy. But before we do that, if we look at our line right here, and let's click on this tool right here, our transform tool, we can select the angle we want this object to rotate from. So if I select this, I can click over here. Let me just show you what I mean. I can click this and just set it to be here. So each time I rotate this object like so, it's going to moving like a clock. If I leave this transform point, so if I click on that transform point and set it over here, so let's say this guy, and set it say over here, it's not going to rotate like that. So what I'm going to do is to just switch this to this little bit of degrees. Let's say 51. So let's say 4 degrees, and I'll say Control J. Right, so I'll rotate this another 4 degrees and do another Control J. It will begin to rotate and duplicate this object all around. So I'll just do that till I have this object like so in a nice circle. So this is super nice. So what I'll do is to select all these, and I can click and drag the layer and then pull this section right here. So I can select this and then go down till I have that last sharp curve, and then hold down Shift and select that one. So I have all of them selected. I'll press Ctrl G, so I have everything selected in one group. I'll just call that rays. So I have these rays. What I also want to do is to click the fill like so, and then I'll just drag this and kind of like place this gradually. So I'm doing this because, okay, I can pull this here and then drag this transparency down here, and I can pull this rail out, so you can actually see I'm minimizing the effect. So as I pull up, the transparency tool is going to make this kind of like, appear. So I'll just leave it at this to make it slightly visible. That's awesome. So I'll just leave it at that. So what I also want to do next is to add a few of these gradations like so. So I'll click on the pen tool again, and this time around I don't want to use this effect, so I'll just click on reset. So this will be the basic reset, and set this to a nice size of say 1. Let's try 2. So if I click this and drag, this is quite thick. So I'll undo that and set our thickness. Let's try something like yeah, I think 1 point. 1 point is awesome. 1 point is awesome. So I'll click on this shape, click it and drag it. Oops, not the transform, but the shape itself. I'll just delete this. So I'll head over here and just create 1, 2. So very good. So if I click on the transform now, I want the center to be here, where I want to rotate from. So I'll click on this and I'll place this right here, like so. So if I click on the rotate right now, you can actually see it's like a clock. This is going to be the center of axis. That's the origin point. So I move the origin point here. So what I'll do is just move this. I'll do a Control J and move this again. So I'll do a Control J, and I can just keep doing that till I have a nice circle around. Really sorry about that, guys. I think there's a much more efficient and faster way of doing this. So if you actually know an awesome, efficient and faster way of doing this, please let me know in the comments, and I'll sure buy you coffee so you can save me from doing this step a million times over again. So if I have that first curve selected, I can just click on that and jump down to the last curve and hold down Shift and click. I can press Ctrl G to group everything together, so I'll have my sanity, and I'll click on this and say let's say raise 2. I need to know the parts of the eye because I'm just giving it very funny names. So what we can do is just scale this guy, and we can move it around here, scale it down, and move this document here as well. Yeah. So I can scale this document down here as well. So now that I have this, I'll go over and use my super secret cheat, and I'll just click anywhere here and just drag the transparency tool, and I want to reverse this. We can click this to reverse the tool, so I can reverse the gradient and it'll be from down here. So I can just pull this down here and just drag this out of this way so that when I drag this, we can actually make this slightly transparent. So I'll just drop this right here. So another thing we can actually do is to hide some of these, right? So to do that, I'll just create a if I create a mask for this group, and if I let me create a pixel right here, and I'll drag the pixel to this group, so I have a pixel for the rays, and it just falls here. So I don't know if this will work, but let me just try it. So I'll go to the pixel persona and I'll create a nice selection. So let's say I have this right here, and under that selection I'll select the paint bucket tool and make sure it's on black, and on that pixel mask I'll just click this to fill that section there with black. And if I deselect that, okay, so this it doesn't really work that way, so I'll just undo that, deselect, and I'll just bounce out of there. So I'll switch over to the pixel persona. So that trick didn't work. I'll find out another trick on how I can actually make this work. So now we've done, we're roughly done with this eye, right? So what we'll do is to create a duplicate. We haven't created our eyebrow. So what I'll do is to press Ctrl A and select everything and press Ctrl G, and we'll call this our eye underscore, let's say right. So this is our right eye. So under the stroke, let's select scale with object so that we can hold shift and just scale this guy, and we can actually see we can make this kind of like smallish, but I'll just leave it like this and place it right here. So we actually scale this guy. So let's create our eyebrow, and to do that I'll like to use a you know, I don't like how I squished it, so I'll just hold down shift and just drag this. I think this is nice. So let's create a nice eyelid here. So to do that, I'll set this to our profile we've saved, and I'll just click here and go over here and click and just drag this right here. It's totally fine. It's because the fill is selected, and for the stroke we'll just make this slightly bigger. So we have this nice cute okay, let's use this for the my curve underneath the eye. So I'll use the move tool and just drag this down a little bit. Yeah, that's totally awesome. Is it overlapping over this guy? I think it is. I can't tell if it's in front or behind, so I'll just drag this up like so. So let's do the same thing again. So we can save this and add this as that crease underneath the eye, and let's go ahead and do the same thing for the eyebrow. What I'll do is just duplicate this guy because I think this is awesome. I like this brow, so I'll just pull this up, and right here for the stroke I'll just drag the width to something nice like this. So that's going to be our eyebrow. I'll just pull this up a bit, just a little bit, just go up a bit, or we can just leave it there, it's fine. So what I'll do next is to, over here on the stroke, I'm gonna click on texture and jump over to brushes with this selected. I'll just try out some of these textures. I think this is super nice, right? So what we can do is to just flip this guy. I don't know which one is nice. Oh, okay, I see what's going on here. I'll just select this one. And you can try out different brushes. I kind of like this one. I have to have it selected before I can see any effect I'm having right here. So I'll just select this one. I think the first one is super nice. So now that we have this, we can add this to the eye group and add this to the eye group as well. So we have one simple eye right here. That's awesome. So let's click on stroke. We already have scale with object. So let's select everything here and say Ctrl J, and let's flip this. And let's hold Control, Shift, and just drag this over here now. This is looking weird. Two eyes just looking at me. So I'll select these two and Shift scale them down. Drag this over here, and I'll just zoom in. So I'll select one of these groups. I'll hold down Shift and just drag this towards the left so we can have something super nice. Right, so now that we have the eye at the center, we can add a little nose. The nose shouldn't be a problem. So let's just add a pen tool and just do a simple stroke right here. That's not so simple. Okay, it's looking too big. Yeah, that's our nose. Cool. Uh-oh. Alright, so that's going to be the nose, and I'll add a nice shade for the nose right here. So I'll go to the pressure and click on reset. What I'll do with the pen tool, I'll press P and just draw a nice triangular shape like so. And then this time around I'll get rid of the stroke and I'll just make the fill appear. And what I'll do, oops, let's deselect that. So what I'll do is select this shape and I'll just turn down the transparency of this shape so I can have this curve selected like so. Then I'll select this curve and drop this down here so I can have this shape selected as well. So that's going to be a very small nose. So let's select this one and this one, shift select, press Ctrl G to group them, and I'll do Ctrl T. So the nose is super small. What I can do is to select these two, and just like that, if I go over here, I can just scale this up. And I'll just try and look at the proportion and just scale this up. Okay, that's too big. You know what, I'll leave it at this. So that's super nice. So how do we can create a background for this. So I'll click on the rectangle tool and just drag and create a rectangle. Now obviously we don't want this to happen, so I'll just click this and say send to back. And we're not even seeing anything because this is black. This is hiding a lot of our and I kind of like excuse me guys, I kind of like this effect, but I'll change this to a nice fill color. So I'll go over here and I'll select this nice color right here. So you can actually see what happens. Because we selected this, we can't actually see the eye, right? Because of this. So if we want to see the eye with a color, what we need to do is to create a shape that will kind of like we can create a mask around this guy, but a quick way to do this is to create an ellipse. So I'll just I can even use the pen tool, but I think it'll be faster if I do this. And let's see how I can map this over the eye. If we're lucky, we might be able to get away with it. If we don't, we can always use the node tool to adjust this. So let's just pull this over here. We might still need to use the node tool. So I'll click on the fill and set this to white. And I think if we're not trying to be a super criticky, I think this is fine. So I'll just click this and drag this and shift this over. And okay, I was supposed to hold Control with Shift so I can duplicate this shape and just place it right here. Now this is fine, but if we notice we have these nice these overlaps, not a problem. You can click Convert to Curves. So let's select the shape, this one too, and click Convert to Curves. And what we can do is to just work on the shape. So select this, go to our node tool, and we can now begin to drag and adjust this guy till it matches the shape we want. So over here we have this nice edge as well. So if I click on this handle, I can just pull this so that it's slightly over here. Alright, like that. So we can do that for all these edges. Just hold Alt and click on this handle, Control handle, and drag that, hold Alt. You can click on this Control handle just to pull it back up. I think this is quite fair. So I'll just undo that because I don't want to do that. Alright, so that's super nice. So we can actually have this and create that. So I'll delete this one because it's a duplicate of this guy and I want them to be the same. So I'll hold Shift and Control and just drag this. Okay, using our vector tool, just shift and drag that and just place that over there. So now we can play around with our fill and change this to any color we want. So I'll just leave it at that. Now you'll notice I have this I can add a nice, effect to this guy. I can add a pattern that will fill. And let's actually save this. I haven't saved this. That's a terrible thing to do. Always save your project. So let's say I underscore manga underscore tut. And yeah, I saw the typo, but I'll just leave it at that. So that's super great. So let's create a new document. And I learned this from a cool dude online. I don't know his name, really sorry about that. So here I'll just click on, I want this to be in pixels. So I'll say pixels. I'll create a 200 by a 200 pixel because I want a square pixel document, and I'll say create. I'll be super duper fast on this one. So I'll just create a nice bowl shape. I'll just drop it in the center like so, and I'll fill this shape with black, and then I'll hold Control and duplicate. Oops. So I have to press V to switch over to this tool. That's our move tool, and I'll hold Control and move this to the left like so till it seems like the center. It's in the center. Hold Control and drag this again. Hold Control and drag this to like just get a quad like so. So I'll just drag this. So yeah, and to actually know it's a good quad, each of these points are going to be touching this edge. Oops, I think I did the wrong thing. I was holding Control. So each edge is going to just touch this guy. So if I drag this, I know this quad is good because these points are touching this edge. I think it's a very lazy way of doing this. So I'll just go over here and hold Shift and kind of like drag this guy to make sure it's touching here. And you're not touching here, so I can use this tool, I think, to just click on this. I need to click Convert to Curves. So I can just drag this guy here. So I have that quad touching. I'll hold Control, and honestly, believe me, it doesn't need to be perfect like that. Do I need a background? So I think I just messed up because I created a background because I don't need this. I don't think I have a background, but let's see if I'm able to export this and make it transparent. So I want to save this as a PNG file. So I'll go to File. I'll just say Export. PNG. Let's see, PNG. Yeah, I'll just use PNG and click on export. So I'll just call this circle and save that. So I have one already. So I'll just show you why we're creating this. We want to create a nice pattern around here. So if we click on the fill tool, it's going to ask us what type. We'll click on bitmap and we can go ahead and download a bitmap image. So sorry about that, guys. This one I created came with a white background. I don't want that. So make sure when you're creating yours, I'll show you what to do. In fact, just so I'm not, let's just delete this guy and say no, and let's just do that over again. So let's click on new and let's set this to pixels, and I'll say a 200 by a 200 pixel document, and this time I'll just click on transparent background. So now that I have that in transparent background, I'll click on the shape and change the fill to fully black. I'll just hold down Shift and create a nice circle and place this at the center. I don't want it to be too big. I'll just place it right here. That's super fine. So next I'll hold Control and just drag this and make sure we have like a quad part like so. Yeah, I think that's super fine. So I'll hold on Control and just drag this over here and make sure each of these two edges align. So I'll do the same thing with the corner. I'll hold Control and then drag this and make sure these two sections align like so. Nice. So I can even hold down Shift to make sure it snaps. And I think turning on magnetic snapping might help here. So let's try it. So it's yeah, I think, okay, good. So one way to improve this, especially when you want to move it around, is to use magnetic snapping. It's totally awesome. So I'll hold Control and drag this. So with my magnetic snapping, it's just snapping this guy. I need it here, not over there. And all right, so this is it. This is what I actually wanted. right? I wanted this to be, and this doesn't seem to be centered. So to align this, we just click on this and say align horizontally, and voila, this is it. So we've aligned this horizontally. So next, now we're happy with this. I'll just go to File, Export, and I export this as a PNG, and just say best underscore ever. So that's our best ever. We can close this since we've exported that. I'll just leave this because I might want to play around with this. So I'll call this circle underscore pattern, and I'll click save. So now I have that. So what we'll do next is to click on our gradient tool, or fill tool rather, and then the type, let's say a bitmap. And with that bitmap, let's click on best ever and click open. So what this is going to do is going to bring best ever and then try to make us look like we're crazy and we don't know what we're doing, but we know what we're doing. So what we're going to do is to just select this guy and begin to pull this guy, and then voila, just like that, you can see you have this nice, awesome checkered pattern. And we can just keep doing that. And once you move this around, you can rotate this. You can hold shift to constrain the rotation. Right, so I'll just drag this to any angle I want. I can make this as small or as big as you want. So I'll just make this still smaller, and I'll just drag out of this so I can, yeah, I think this is a good halftone bitmap effect. Now what happened is we can't find, we actually did that on our rectangle. So what we'll do is to press, let's create a new rectangle. So I'll go to rectangle like so, click this tool, and let's click on rectangle and just draw a nice rectangle shape. And this time around, I'll just set the fill to this color. And over here on our layers tool, I'll just set this to multiply. Or what we'll do is, it's actually above everything. We'll just use send to back to send it below everything. So we don't even need to do any layer adjustments or multiply or whatnot, whatever. We don't need to do that. So what we can do right now, we can change the opacity of this guy. So we can reduce that effect if we want, or we can make it higher. It doesn't matter. It's just what we want. Or we can even do that layer blend modes. We can say multiply. We can say screen. We can do color dodge. I think soft light isn't too bad actually. So I'll just duplicate this guy. Yeah, I think I like soft light. And then let's change this back to normal. And then what we can do is to just fade this out a bit so we can actually have best of both worlds. And to make this quite interesting, I just had an idea while I was doing this. Let's go to the special tools, and we can use a call out here. And you can drop a nice call out, set the stroke to black, and increase the width, right, of this call out. And we can set this to, we can just set this to this value, and the fill is going to be back. Okay, let's use white for the fill. And we can just drag this, and oops, not like that. Let's use V, the move tool, and just drag move tool. All right. There you go. That wasn't so hard, was it? And with this, we can actually add some text. So let's go over here and say frame text tool. So let's add a nice frame with some text. And we'll just say, awesome. Like that. And we can select the text. We can make this 16 points. We can do a lot of stuff with the text, but this is not a text tutorial. We can select this and make this bold, and we can change the size of the text to 18, and we can even move this guy around like so, because it's the text fill tool. And I think it'd be nice to use the Japanese text here, so I'll say in case this is manga, I'll say Nanda. Nanda jakuri wa nanda yo. I like Bleach. Sorry about that, guys. That was terrible acting. And yeah, I know you don't know. I know you don't understand what I'm. Whoa! What is happening? Okay. Okay, it doesn't want me to. We have to use Nanda. Nanda, oh. Yeah, I think that's better. So I don't know where the layers went to. I can't find the layers tool. So let's we can always reset things. So we go to Studio and say reset Studio. So we have our layers right here. It's actually right here. So so there you have it, guys. So that's how you can create a nice Manga Eyes. And the good thing is, I didn't follow along with the other one. So let's see how we did. So I can go to Open and Open Recent and say iframe parts. I think I called that one iframe parts. And wow, this is quite nice. I actually took a little more time working on this one. So I kind of like this one. And the reason why it's looking so awesome is because I actually have a nice gradient on the rectangle, which I didn't have here. Right, so I didn't have that here. I can click on this and just do that right here. So honestly, gradients always help. You can actually see how awesome this looks by just adding a simple gradient, right? So a gradient really helps, and I think this is actually cool. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope this has helped you learn something about Affinity Designer. It's a very awesome tool. I got it, and I've been using it for like 3 weeks now, and I really love this tool. So hopefully you can follow my channel and use the Affinity Designer playlist where I'll be putting some stuff, tips and tricks. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and peace.